Welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going international.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, we're headed down to Brazil
All right.
to explore how couples handle their finances.
Oh, interesting.
So we'll be diving into this book.
Okay.
It's called Smart Couples Get Rich Together,
Mm.
written by Gustavo Cerbasi,
Right.
who is like this personal finance expert in Brazil.
Cool.
And, I was a little hesitant at first.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, what can Brazilians teach us about money?
Right.
But as I started digging into this book,
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised by how universal a lot of these concepts are.
Interesting.
Like, even though it's written for a Brazilian audience,
Mm-hmm.
the financial truths and the relationship dynamics
Yeah.
really apply to couples everywhere.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But money is money.
Right.
Relationships are relationships,
So-
no matter where you go.
So even if you're not in Brazil, I think you'll find some really valuable insights here.
I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, me too. So Cerbasi kicks things off
Yeah.
by identifying these 5 money personality types.
Okay.
And it's so interesting because it's like he's peering into our lives. So first we have the spenders.
Okay, the spenders.
Yeah, these are the people who are like always chasing the latest trends,
Oh, yeah.
the newest gadgets. They love a good sale,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't actually need anything.
I think everyone knows a spender or two.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then you have the savers.
Okay, the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the savers,
Yeah.
they're all about budgeting,
Mm-hmm.
delayed gratification.
They find joy in saving.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're the ones with like the perfectly organized spreadsheets.
Right. They know where every penny is going.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have the anxious.
The anxious.
Yeah.
Right.
So these are the worriers,
Mhm.
even when things are going well financially.
Right. They're always kind of stressed about money.
Like that what if scenario is always playing in their head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got the disorganized.
Right, the disorganized.
Yeah, so these are the folks
Mhm.
who may not even know how much money they have in their account,
Mm-hmm.
tracking expenses,
Yeah.
budgeting,
Right.
foreign concepts.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a challenge for couples.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finally, we have the disengaged.
Disengaged. Okay.
These are the partners
Uh-huh.
who are perfectly happy to let the other person handle all the finances.
They just don't want to be bothered with it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
as we're going through these,
Mm-hmm.
think about which type you are
Right.
and which type your partner is.
Yeah. This is where it gets really interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Cerbasi,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't just like define these types.
Mm-hmm.
He actually goes on to explore
Yeah.
how they interact within a couple,
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
like how those different combinations play out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's this whole dynamic of like push and pull.
Right. Some combinations just naturally work better than others.
Right. And some are going to face more friction.
For sure.
So, for example,
Yeah.
Cerbasi actually argues
Mhm.
that a spender with a disengaged partner
Oh, wow. Okay.
can actually be a really successful pairing.
Really?
That's surprising.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Because you think like, oh, that's going to be a recipe for disaster.
Right. Totally.
But
Yeah.
his thinking
Mhm.
is that the spender gets to kind of enjoy their purchases
Mm-hmm.
without constant scrutiny.
Okay.
And the disengaged partner is just relieved
Right.
to not have to deal with all the details.
They're like, just please handle it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the key is
Uh-huh.
they have to have really clear boundaries
Right.
and open communication.
So like maybe the spender has a separate fun money account.
Exactly.
And they both agree on a system for shared expenses.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it's not about finding someone with the exact same money style.
Right.
It's more about understanding
Mm.
your individual tendencies
Yeah.
and then creating a system that works for both of you.
I like that.
Yeah. But I'm curious,
Yeah.
what about like a spender paired with a saver?
Ooh, yeah. That seems like a recipe for tension.
Right. Like you're going to have a lot of arguments over spending habits.
Totally. I can see the saver just constantly cringing.
Right.
Yeah.
But Cerbasi actually thinks that
Mhm.
even those pairings can find harmony
Oh, yeah.
if both partners are willing to compromise
Uh-huh.
and communicate effectively.
Okay, so it's not impossible.
Right.
Interesting.
He says like the saver's careful planning
Yeah.
can provide a safety net
Right.
that allows the spender to have some guilt-free indulgences.
Okay, so it's like a balance.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But he does say
Yeah.
this dynamic requires a lot of maturity
Right.
and a willingness to see the other person's perspective.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he even suggests couples counseling in some cases
Wow.
to really help them navigate those differences.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea for a lot of couples,
Probably.
regardless of their money personalities.
Right.
Yeah.
So even with like the potential for conflict, these seemingly opposite money styles can learn from each other and build a solid foundation together.
I love that.
Me too.
It's hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Cerbasi goes on to really like dive deep into all the different pairings,
Okay.
exploring like
Yeah.
the potential pitfalls
Right.
and also the surprising strength
Yeah.
that each pairing can bring to the table.
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Me too.
Yeah.
We'll definitely unpack some of those later on.
Okay.
But
Right.
first, let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about Cerbasi's advice for couples who are just starting out.
Yeah, like those early days.
Yeah.
Because whether you're a spender and a saver or two anxious types,
Right.
there are some universal steps that every couple can take
Okay.
to build that strong financial foundation.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about those early days.
Okay. The honeymoon phase.
Well, maybe not the honeymoon phase.
Right.
It's more like the honeymoon is over,
Okay.
and now you got to talk about money.
Yeah, those initial money conversations, they can be so daunting.
Right. Like you've just said, I do.
Uh-huh.
You're thinking about like honeymoon destination.
Yeah, all the fun stuff.
And then suddenly it's like, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about joint bank accounts.
Right. It's like a record scratch.
Totally. Not exactly romantic.
Not really.
But Cerbasi argues
Mm-hmm.
that these early conversations
Yeah.
are so crucial
Okay.
for setting the stage
Right.
for financial harmony down the road.
It makes sense you have to start somewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually compares it to building a house.
Oh, you wouldn't start constructing
Yeah.
without a solid foundation, would you?
No.
Same with your finances as a couple.
That's a good analogy.
So
yeah.
where do you even begin?
Right.
Like, is there a right way to approach merging your finances?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Cerbasi acknowledges there's no like one-size-fits-all approach,
Right.
But he does offer some practical tips
Okay.
to make the process less daunting.
Okay.
So he suggests that couples start by discussing their individual financial goals
Okay.
and their attitudes towards money.
Like, what are your priorities?
Exactly. Like, are you someone who prioritizes saving for a down payment?
Right?
Or are you more focused on experiences
Yeah.
and travel?
Uh-huh.
Understanding those priorities
Yeah.
can help you create a budget that aligns with your shared vision.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like getting on the same page
Exactly.
on the beginning.
Yeah.
What about like the practical stuff?
Okay.
Like bank accounts, credit cards.
Right.
Like, how do you actually handle those things?
Well, Cerbasi encourages couples to consider a system that works for both of them.
Okay.
Some couples prefer to merge everything into joint accounts,
Mm-hmm.
while others opt for a combination of joint and individual accounts.
Mm.
He suggests designating a joint account for shared expenses,
Okay.
like rent, utilities, groceries,
Yeah.
while maintaining individual accounts for personal spending and savings.
So you still have some autonomy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You keep some financial independence.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
He also mentions prenuptial agreements.
Ah, yes, that's a topic a lot of couples shy away from.
Yeah, it can be kind of a touchy subject,
For sure.
often seen as like a sign of distrust.
Right, like you're already planning for the breakup.
Right.
But Cerbasi actually reframes prenups
No.
as a tool for responsible financial planning,
Okay.
especially if one partner enters the marriage with significantly more assets.
Right. That makes sense.
He argues that a prenup can actually foster open communication
Oh, interesting.
and prevent future conflict
Okay.
by clearly outlining each partner's financial rights and obligations.
So it's like taking the emotion out of it and being practical.
Yeah, it's like a business agreement almost, which I know sounds unromantic,
Yeah.
but it can actually be very helpful.
Makes sense, especially like nowadays.
Right.
Relationships are so complex.
They are.
So, okay, we've talked about merging finances,
Mm-hmm.
prenups.
Yeah.
What else does Cerbasi recommend for couples in those early stages?
One of his core principles is creating a financial plan.
Okay.
And he emphasizes this doesn't have to be a complicated, intimidating process.
Right. I think a lot of people hear financial plan
Mm-hmm.
and they just shut down.
Yeah, it feels very formal,
Right.
serious.
Yeah.
But Cerbasi breaks it down in a way that's approachable and manageable.
Okay, good.
He stresses that even basic financial literacy, like understanding how interest works, or calculating the true cost of a loan, can empower couples to make informed financial decisions.
So it's like giving you the knowledge.
Exactly.
So you're not just intimidated by it all.
Yeah, you're not just blindly signing things.
Right.
He even includes templates and worksheets in the book.
Oh, cool.
To help couples get started.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it's very hands-on.
And speaking of big financial decisions, Cerbasi has a rather controversial take on homeownership, doesn't he?
He does. He challenges the traditional notion that buying a home is always the best financial move.
Wow. Okay, in what context?
So in the Brazilian context, he argues that in many cases, renting can actually be a smarter choice.
That goes against everything we've been taught.
I know, right?
Like, what's his reasoning?
So he breaks it down mathematically.
Okay.
Comparing the costs of buying versus renting over a period of 20 years. Okay. He factors in things like property taxes, maintenance costs, and the potential for property values to fluctuate. And then he compares those costs to the potential returns you could earn by investing the money you would have put towards a down payment.
So it's not just about like the emotional satisfaction of owning a home.
Right.
It's really looking at the numbers.
Exactly. It's about analyzing the long-term financial implications.
Okay.
And he provides concrete examples in the book showing how the interest earned on investments could actually outpace the perceived security of owning a home.
Oh, wow.
It's really interesting. Yeah. And he emphasizes that this isn't a one-size-fits-all approach. It's a call to carefully consider your individual circumstances and your financial goals.
I like that he's challenging those assumptions about home ownership.
Yeah, it's good to question those things.
Yeah. And I imagine his insights apply to other big financial decisions, too.
Absolutely.
Like investing or starting a business.
Yeah, any major financial decision.
Right.
He encourages couples to approach them with a critical eye, weighing the potential risks and rewards.
So it's not just jumping in blindly.
Exactly.
Okay.
He also emphasizes the importance of aligning your spending with your values.
That's such a good point.
I think that's key.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in like keeping up with the Joneses.
Right.
Or feeling pressured.
Yeah, buy things you don't need.
Right. But ultimately, financial happiness comes from making choices that are aligned with what truly matters.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And this focus on values extends to the next stage of a couple's journey, raising children.
Yes, the little bundles of joy.
Who can also be little money pits.
That's true.
So teaching kids about money can be tricky.
It is a challenge.
Like, how does Cerbasi approach this?
Well, he believes in open communication and starting early.
Okay.
Like talking to kids about money in an age-appropriate way.
So even when they're little?
Yeah, even if it's just explaining where the money comes from to buy groceries.
Oh, okay. So just kind of demystifying money.
Exactly. Making it a normal part of family conversations.
I like that.
Yeah.
But how do you actually teach them to manage money?
Well, Cerbasi is a big advocate for allowance.
Okay.
But not as a reward or an entitlement. It's more like a tool for kids to experience making their own financial decisions.
So even if it's just choosing between like a toy now or saving up for something bigger later?
Exactly. He suggests giving kids a set amount each week and letting them decide how to spend or save it.
So they learn by doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll probably make some mistakes along the way.
Oh, for sure.
But that's okay.
Right.
It's better for them to make small financial mistakes early on while the stakes are low than later in life when the consequences could be more significant.
It's like training wheels for financial responsibility.
Exactly.
Does he have any specific advice on those wants versus needs conversations?
He does. He's all about setting limits and teaching kids to prioritize.
So, like, how do you handle that?
Well, he gives the example of a child wanting a new video game.
Okay, classic.
Right. Instead of immediately saying yes or no, he suggests parents engage in a conversation about it.
Oh, okay.
Like, how much does the game cost?
Right.
How long would it take to save up for it? Is there something else you'd rather spend your money on?
So it's not just like shutting them down.
Right. It's about helping them think through it.
Yeah.
These conversations help kids develop critical thinking skills and learn to delay gratification.
That's so important.
It is.
But I feel like sometimes kids are just hardwired to want everything.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in today's world.
Right. Yeah. It's like a constant barrage of advertising.
It is. And yeah, Cerbasi acknowledges that raising financially responsible kids is tough.
It is.
Especially in a consumer-driven society.
Right.
But he reminds parents that they are the biggest influence
Oh, that's good.
on their children's financial habits.
Makes sense.
So it's about leading by example.
Okay.
Kids are much more likely to adopt healthy financial habits if they see their parents practicing them.
So it's not just what you say, but what you do.
Exactly.
Okay, so looking beyond raising kids, Cerbasi also talks about the long game for couples, achieving financial independence.
Right, building wealth together.
What are his key principles?
Well, he breaks it down into 3 pillars.
Okay.
Time consistency and smart decisions.
All right, let's break those down.
Okay, so first, time. He's a huge believer in harnessing the power of compound interest.
Compound interest is like magic.
It really is. He shows how starting early, even with small amounts, can have a massive impact over time.
It's crazy how much it grows.
I know. He uses the example of a couple who invests a small amount each month starting in their 20s.
Okay.
By the time they reach retirement age, their investment has grown exponentially.
Even without, like, making huge contributions.
Exactly. It's the power of time.
So then consistency. I guess that means saving a regular habit.
Precisely. It's about making saving a non-negotiable part of your budget.
Not just when you have extra money.
Right. It's like paying your rent or your utilities.
Okay.
He emphasizes that even small amounts consistently saved over time can add up to a significant nest egg.
It's like building a financial muscle.
Exactly. Slowly but surely.
And what about smart decisions?
Well, he stresses the importance of understanding your investments, diversifying your portfolio, and avoiding risky get-rich-quick schemes.
Right.
He's a big proponent of seeking professional advice when needed. And staying informed about economic trends.
So like doing your research.
Exactly. He even suggests attending financial seminars or workshops together.
Oh, that's a fun date night.
Right. Learn something new together.
I like it.
So it's about being proactive.
Yeah.
Not just letting your money sit idle.
But what does he say about retirement itself?
Well, he actually challenges that traditional view of retirement.
Okay.
You know, like kicking back and relaxing on a beach.
Right.
He sees financial independence not as an end goal, but as a means to achieve a richer, more fulfilling life.
So it's not about stopping work altogether.
Right. It's about having the freedom to make choices based on what truly matters to you.
I love that.
Whether that's spending more time with family, traveling, pursuing a passion project, or even starting a business.
It's about designing a life you don't need to escape from.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
It has been fascinating.
We've covered so much.
I know.
From understanding your money personality to building a strong financial foundation as a couple, navigating those big life decisions like home ownership, raising financially savvy kids, and ultimately achieving that financial independence.
That massa critica.
Yes, so that you have the freedom to live a life that you love.
It's inspiring.
It is. And, you know, while Cerbasi's book is written for Brazilian couples, I think his insights are universal.
I agree.
No matter where you live or what your financial situation is, I think there's something in here for everyone.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up, what if financial freedom wasn't just about the numbers, but about building a life filled with more choice, more purpose, and the ability to make a real difference in the world?
That's a great takeaway.
Something to think about.